up to the top of Mount Royal with a spade, and I looked for a grave that was only freshly dug. It's 1883, and my university still expects its students to find their own bodies, to study such things as human inner workings, for dissection is only an art if you know what you're doing. So I knew that I wanted to do something in the arts, I think. I would say to my parents when I was little that I wanted to be a rock star when I was older, or that I knew I was going to be a rock star when I was older. And I think it could have been acting, or it could have been something that has a dramatic flair is what I was kind of drawn to. I find that music is something that ages the best, in my opinion, or maybe one of the arts that ages the best compared to like books or television or anything else. I find that it's more of a pure form of art or expression. I started to veer into trying to be comedic in my songwriting, partly in my first album and definitely in my EP, which is my latest thing. And I've realized that that's something that gets me excited and makes me feel like the work is meaningful, as if I'm dealing with feelings or ideas that are serious, but I'm presenting them in a way that's funny. It feels more impactful. I was out walking with my mom, actually, along the creek bed where there's a lot of alder bushes that the beavers have been chewing on and cutting down. So it leaves these sticks about this width and with like a pencil point sticking up all in a bit. And so we started joking about how it's like Dracula with pikes that he would put heads on, you know? And so comparing beavers to Dracula was like a funny idea that I ran with and created a song. It became a country song. And I do like country, so I'm not trying to disparage country, but it was comedic for me that it had a country element that was very like old style country that was very had a lot of pathos in it. So there's like I'm taking myself very seriously, and this is a very heart-wrenching story, but it's like a funny thing. I try to think of something that I have some anxiety about, or a situation I've lived through that has been hard, or maybe a feeling of alienation that I might have in a school setting or in a work setting, or feeling like you don't quite fit in and not knowing how to bridge that gap has been something that has always kind of been central to me. And then now trying to make that more quirky and funny is how I do it. I am sometimes frightened by the thought that might is right. Like a boxer after a fight. Nothing seems to matter when the world makes you feel small, and the gods are now neutral. The gods are now neutral. Something that I feel like I'm doing when I'm acting, which is the same as when I'm writing and playing music, is kind of what I would call channeling or redirecting energy. It could be spiritual. There's definitely an element to that, but I don't necessarily mean it that way. It could also be like you have raw energy in yourself and you're finding a way to make it focused on something energetic in a productive manner, which could lead to a feeling of like excitement or wanting to dance or whatever the case may be. So that for me is like the drama element of it, where I'm turning something on, I'm flicking a switch, you know? And so I hope that kind of fun would come through in listening to it as well. I think my experience so far has been that I prefer the studio because it's more of a conversation between me and the recording engineer, who I get along well with and work well with. And the space is intimate, and there's art on the walls that help kind of put me in a certain atmosphere, frame of mind. It becomes a project that we're working towards together. So there's like comradeship in that. And there's space for messing up and fixing it, which is handy. It definitely is important to me. It's one of the ways that I can connect to a feeling of self-empowerment, a feeling of connection to an aspect of the universe that is holding me and helping me. And I've, funnily enough, noticed that I only write music when I'm either in this house or like in another place in the Gatineau Hills in the countryside. I've lived in Montreal, I've lived in Kingston, as well as over in Spain. During those periods of time, they've been creatively dry. I've played music, but I've just never been able to write a song. And then I come home and it's like things just start pouring out. I feel a huge amount of affection for the natural landscape, like trees in particular, and I'll go outside and I can ground, take my shoes and socks off and have my feet touch the grass. I feel like there is the energy aspect, but there's also like you're building familiarity with the landscape that you've been with over time, and you have a series of like memory associations with it that builds a richness of feeling whenever you see it again and interact with it again. Like it's a memory bank that you keep adding to, and that is definitely relevant, I think, to the creative process for me.